Hey, Mark, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. We'll get going here in like a minute. We'll let our room fill a little bit. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited.
Yeah. After this is done, I'd love to chat one on one and I've kind of followed you, being in education and when you guys started and when you started, it was at Penn State, right?
Pitt,
And
University of Pittsburgh.
oh, Pittsburgh. Yeah, an amazing journey you must have. So I'm really excited to hear this and learn more about you. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. And I don't see John here, but special thanks to John Owens as well for
Yeah.
helping me
Actually,
through this.
let me. I'll get you going here. First of all, everybody, this is Mark Drubel,
Marcus Dubreuil.
Marcus Dubreuil. Awesome. And I
It's a hard name.
apologize for completely massacring your last name, and I will do better as we go forward. But Mark is here today to talk about an app that we use here at Campbell University, and I've heard about this app for a little while, but never had a chance to really get involved with it. And when I came here and tested it out, I tell you, I fell in love with it. I think it is so incredible, and we have digitized much of the music that we can, and we are ready to use this 100% with our students. And so we're going to start this here at 2 o'clock. I'm just kind of talking to let people come in a little bit more. And then remember, right after this at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, we'll have Josh Gall from the University of Texas and Ultimate Drill Book. And he'll be talking about how it works in the first session and then the student perspective of how to use it in the second section. And again, here at Campbell, we use both apps, both Ultimate Drill Book and none other than Flip Folder. So on to you.
All right. Just it looks like I can't share my full screen, just the window. I can bounce between windows. I have a few windows to share, but I don't know if that's like a permission that I don't have or something. But yeah, so my name's Marcus Dubreuil, and this I have like a few slides, but it's mostly gonna be a live demo. First of all, I hope all of you are well. I know it's very strange times, and we actually have a lot of things we're releasing next year in response to the changes that bands are making next year for COVID, and we'll talk about those towards the end. But I think at first I'm just going to go over sort of the story of the app, what it is at a very kind of basic level and high level, I mean, and then we can get into kind of how it can benefit you, especially next year. So this app started when I was a sophomore at the University of Pittsburgh. And at Pitt at that point, they had actually switched to using electronic music before I even got there. They were using, they had their phones attached to their instruments, and they were using a cloud storage. It was Box they were using, but similar to Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever cloud storage you like. And I really did not like it. I'm going to be honest. I was a student. I only graduated actually this last December, and I was not a fan of of using the cloud storage for the phone. I had to kind of first of all I had gloves on, and that was trouble trying to select the phone screen, and also going through the folders to find the PDF that I needed, and then zooming in to make sure it was fit to the screen. There were so many problems with it, so I made an app because basically the band director at Pitt was like, hey, we're going electronic whether you like it or not, and I shared it with others in the band, and eventually the band director as well. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'll just share the window for now. So you should hopefully see a PowerPoint presentation. I think so. Yeah, there it is.
We see it.
Okay, great, thank you. Zoom is blocking everything for me, so just 1 second here. Okay. So kind of the big idea here is we didn't want to just, because it became evident to me that just putting music on a smartphone wasn't good enough, right? Just putting it up there, so that you can view it. There's benefits to it, definitely. You know, if it's dark outside, you can still read your music, stuff like that. But it wasn't good enough to really make the switch worthwhile. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to actually do more than just replace paper, right? We wanted to use the actual ability that smartphones have, which is quite drastic, to improve the experience of reading music and just being in a band and performing. So what we do is we utilize multiple layers of connectivity, whether it be internet or Bluetooth, together at the same time to make it so that your band stays connected. And as a band director, you can select a song on your device and it will come up automatically on every device in the band with their part selected and sized to the screen. So that's really solving almost all of the problems I just talked about. But we built on top of this even more than what I just said to kind of, you know, to be honest, Pitt used it for 1 year and I didn't let any other band use it because I was really trying to perfect it. And after that, you know, I've opened it up to, you know, that following year it was Campbell and a lot of other universities jumped on and they just gave me feedback and I built the app from there. So in a way, this app has been built by bands to kind of solve lots of problems that bands have. And even have for decades, not even just electronic music, but communication is a big problem that bands have had. And solution so far has been yelling. So we're trying to help that as well. So there's also notation built in and also synchronization. So you can have multiple devices that synchronize the notes together and so on. So I am going to go into a live demo, but just to kind of show you how this works in the app, you would start a performance and you would give it a name. You know, in this case, I'm calling it My Test. You'll see the number of devices connected, and when you select a song, that song will just come up on all of your devices in the band. And it's in 2 to 3 seconds it comes up. And the reason why it's able to come up so fast is it actually uses an in-house made framework for connectivity that uses, as I said, both Bluetooth and internet together. There's nothing like this that exists. The closest thing that exists that's similar is smart home. When you have like an Amazon Alexa or a smart light, it's a similar framework. So that's why I say here, smart home inspires the smart band. But yeah, it's able to work in basically every scenario that you have, whether it be very good internet connection and you're physically separated, or terrible internet connection, maybe even no internet connection, but you're close enough together within 36 feet of each other. You know, each band member needs to be within 36 feet of another band member to connect. And in both of those scenarios, it works. And what's best is both scenarios. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is actually ask that all of you who have smartphones right now with you, this isn't required, but I would like to get you guys involved in this demo. So I'm going to do this entirely live. And if you have an iPhone or an Android device, feel free to open that up right now. And I'm going to go ahead and try to switch to another screen here while they're getting those ready. So just 1 second. Okay, so you have to bear with me here because it looks like I can't share my full screen. I can only share windows. So I have to kind of swap between them here. All right, so you should hopefully see a phone screen right now. And this is what the app looks like. So if you have a iOS or iOS phone, you can open up the App Store. If you have a Android phone, open up the Google Play Store. And the app is just called Flip Folder. It was funny, actually, the other day, I got an email from a band director to my personal email saying, hey, what was that Flip Folder app you made? It's called Flip Folder app. So yeah, if you go ahead and search Flip Folder on the App Store, a little bit redundant to put app when you're in the App Store, but you can give that an install, open that up. When you first open it up, it'll ask you to log in via Google Drive, or sorry, Google, Facebook, or email and password. The reason why we do that is we actually use federated login to make it so that if you have multiple devices, and this is actually new next year, by the way, but if you have multiple devices with the same login, you can actually only use one license for all those devices. And this also means that if if a phone broke in the middle of the year and you got a new one or you just upgraded, you can log in with the same thing. Everything syncs and you don't have to use more than one license for both of those devices. Now, you can't have both of those devices open at the same time, but that's why that login exists. It's basically just for synchronization purposes. So once you get past that, you'll see this add band screen. And now I'm going to go ahead and have to switch to another screen here to basically set up a band and show you what that looks like. It's a very simple process. All right, so here's another screen. This is our website. It's just flipfolderapp.com. You can also type in flipfolder.app and get to the same page if that's easy to remember. I'm going to go ahead and create a band here. And anybody is able to do this, actually. There's a 30-day free trial. And if you need that extended for any reason, you can reach out to us. I'm going to go ahead and just call this, I guess, July Conference Demo Band. You have a band name and you have a Connect ID. The way that this app works is the band name is just whatever you want to call your band. Connect ID is something you give out to your students that allows them to actually connect to the band. It's kind of like a shared password. It's one of the multiple layers of authentication, but it's a shared password you would send to all of your band members. So I'll go ahead and just be very creative here and make this July Conference as the Connect ID. Obviously, this band is not going to be extremely secure, but for the purpose of this demo, that's not the point. So I'm going to go ahead and create this band, and looks like I need to delete one of my other many test bands, so give me just a second here. Sorry about that. Should have done that before. All right. Okay. So July Conference Demo Band. July Conference. All right, so then you have a band and you're ready to start uploading music. As I said, this app came from a band member's perspective, but over time, we've built it to really be a solution for band directors as well. So one of the things that we have focused on is making this whole experience of setting up a band much easier. And before I even get into loading music and what that looks like, what I want to say is for the first year, when you first sign up, we will load all of your music for you. So if you share with us a secure link to a cloud storage with all of your music files scanned and organized into either song folders or part folders, we will load those into our app for you for that first year. And then that music never goes away until you remove it. So it can go between years and it never has to go away. But we also have something built into the app that actually allows you to load your entire library in bulk. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is add bulk songs here from a cloud storage, from Google Drive in this case. And what this is going to do is it's going to loop through all of my folders in the band and figure out, it uses actually artificial intelligence to try to match up the different songs to what they expect the parts to be. So all you got to do is tell the app what the parts of your ensemble is, because believe it or not, this isn't just used for marching bands, it's used for a lot of different things. So in this case, I'm going to have a trombone quintet because it happens to be music that I have the rights to because I composed and I write trombone quintets. So this is the trombone quintet and that's that. So you only have to specify the parts once, and then once you do that, it remembers them. So at this point, it's going to kind of bring me through to audit the results of the automatic matching it did to make sure that it did a good job. So I'm going to go through and see, okay, yeah, it matched up the score and all the trombone parts for this song. And it even figured out what the song name was. So that's all good. I'm going to go ahead and submit that. This time it wasn't able to find the score, and it matched the wrong trombone 5 part because there isn't a trombone 5 part. So I'm going to go ahead and just double up the trombone 4 part here. And then this one looks good. So now this is actually interesting. Even though it looks really simple right now, and what it's doing right now is converting and uploading music, it's doing a lot of really complicated things because one of the solutions, one of the things we solved was PDFs are terrible at displaying on phones, right? They're just awful. Like it's trying to zoom in, trying to get everything the way you want it to be is annoying. So what happens here is it's uploading the music, converting it, and sizing it so that it works for aspect ratios of all different types. So that there's lots of different types of phones, lots of different types of tablets. And it makes sure the music can be displayed on all of those types of devices. So there's a conversion process here that does that pretty well. I'm not going to say it's perfect in all scenarios. There's definitely a lot of different types of music files you can have, but it does a pretty good job overall. So this process takes a little long. So what you do is you load in all of your music like I did, and you run all the jobs. You can even do them overnight if you're loading in a huge library, and it will convert them down overnight. Since I only had 3 songs, it wasn't that long. And if I go back to my band, I can see I have 3 songs right here. So I think it looks like one of you already jumped the gun and connected here. So I think what we're going to go ahead and do now is basically jump into the band and see what this looks like in the app. So I'm once again going to go ahead and switch windows here to back to the phone, which you should now see again. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is press the Add Band button. And all it asks for is that Connect ID, which right now is that July conference, all lowercase, which I wish I could present at the same time, but I can't. So it's just this, July conference, all lowercase, all one word. And you can all feel free to enter the same thing as well on your devices. And then it will ask you to select a part. Now this part is actually just going to be your default part. So it doesn't have to be your part for every single song in the band, but it's going to be the one that it defaults to. So in this case, I'll go ahead and say trombone 3. Then it'll ask if I want to pre-download all of the songs. This is only 3 songs, so it's not that much memory. But one of the reasons why we keep enforcing that you download all the songs is because that's not something that can happen over Bluetooth, right? So you want to download music before you go into a performance, because otherwise you might not be able to download it because you might not have an internet connection. So we definitely want to make sure that you have those songs downloaded. And it doesn't take long at all, even for a larger library. And then you'll be on this screen, which is basically what we call the band view. It's where you'll spend most of your time as a band member, maybe not as a band director, but there's really only 2 menus here, one on the left and one on the right. The left menu is all of your music. So you can select songs here and they will come up. You can select them manually. This is useful if you are in if you're not in a performance and you're practicing, right? Because you can still use this app if you're doing that. You'll also notice this is alphabetic. And you can scroll through alphabetically. There's only 3 songs, so the scrolling isn't really demoed here. But you can search for any kind of text that is contained within the song names to get, and it looks like there was no songs that had that, but if I type in TH, I get Like the Birds. Any case-insensitive thing you want to search. For very large libraries, that feature can be very useful. And the right menu has kind of a whole bunch of different things and sub-menus that we'll get into. One of the most notable things is the pen icon. So what you can do is you can zoom in super close, because I have big fingers, so it's difficult. But you can zoom in pretty close to the music, click on that pen icon, and you can draw notations on your music. So if I want to add like a flat there, I can do that. And that will save on my phone. And it will actually now save in the cloud as well. So one of the features we unveiled this year was something called Cloud Notes. And what this means is if you have multiple devices that you log in with the same user as, all these notations will sync between those devices. That's if you use the private notes option. There's also a shared notes option, which is actually something that in the band manager, you can authenticate devices to write notes that will be shared for all devices that have that same part. So basically that means if I'm a trombone 3 player and I have that permission, I can go in and type this shared notes. Right now it won't let me because I don't have the permission. But if I go to the band manager, I'm not going to share my screen here because it will just take too much time to swap between them. But I'm going to go into my band manager and give my device permission to do that. And then go ahead and reopen the band here. And since I have permission, I can open up this song, go to the shared notes option, and just kind of write something here that, that will be shared to everybody who has the trombone 3 part and has the Skyboat song open. So that's the shared notes, and that's going to be something that was one of the actual COVID features that we were focusing on, because we realized that giving notes to your whole band might not be as feasible as it was previously, and maybe you have to meet with a smaller group of people to go over those things. And maybe you can just meet with your student leaders. They can write notes in their music, and that will sync to all of the devices. So just something we added to help out with that. But one of the key things here is managing performances. So once again, I'm not going to share my management screen when I do this, but I'm going to go ahead and add my device here as a band leader. The actual process of doing this is detailed in many tutorial videos and texts that we have. But right now I'm going to go ahead and just do it on the band manager and add my device, which you're seeing right now, as a leader. So that just requires a separate layer of authentication because you don't really want anybody to be able to bring up music for everybody because that just could cause problems. So what I've done is I've authenticated my device here, as a band leader, the first thing I'll see is this updating band tooth. What's happening is my device is being authorized to send Bluetooth messages over a secure encrypted network that it creates around me. Obviously can't demo that today because none of us are close to each other. I mean, maybe some of us are, but as far as I know, none of us are close to each other. But what I see as a band leader now is in this left menu, a start performance button. So if I select that, I can name my performance. I'm gonna go ahead and just call this practice. The reason why you can name performances is because you can have more than one performance running at a time. So if you wanted to have sectionals or you wanted to have smaller ensembles or some sort of break going on, you can have multiple performances with multiple different leaders at the same time. So as a band leader now, I can see this performance dashboard on my phone. And on here, I can see the number of devices that are connected, which happens to be 6. Right now, we're all connecting over the internet, which actually means this will be, if anything, slower than it would have been if we were all together. So you'll see kind of how fast the slow is here. You can see we're currently playing nothing, and it gives me the name of the performance here as well. What I'm going to go ahead and do is select, let's go ahead and do Like the Birds. And what will happen now is that will come up automatically on all of your devices because you all automatically connect to this performance since it was the only one running. And that song will come up just like this. And now I'm going to bring up another song, which is actually a little bit malformatted, this Pokemon Route 4 song. This happens to be a song with a not a lot of white space, but it's not set up like a marching band tune. So the application, the wizard wasn't quite sure how to format the page, which is fine. I can still see the music and I can still scroll in to view the song and kind of scroll down as I'm playing it. But one thing you can do is in this right menu, you can press the save button. And what that will do is make it so that this song will come up the same way every single time I load it. So I put it in the position that I like it. And then anytime this comes up again, it will be in that same position. So it just kind of means you don't have to scroll in and do that every single time, which is useful. So that's another thing we got here. One of the biggest questions we get, and I do want to have kind of a Q&A session if that's okay afterwards, but one of the biggest questions we get is battery life, right? And this is actually something that I'm sure UDB and the other apps to do with paperless, they get all the time. And it's a very good question, right? Like what are you doing basically to save on battery? A lot of things. First of all, as the developer of this app, I can tell you that right now, nothing is happening in the background but making sure that you're connected. So basically, while you're not touching the screen and moving things around, the entire back end of the application is just turned off to save on power. That doesn't do enough, though, because one of the biggest power hungry things on each smartphone is just the screen. It's something near 60% of all of your battery life is just taken up by having the screen on. So we have actually multiple solutions for that. One thing you can do is if you're a band leader and you're in between songs, so you're in the stands, you played something, and now you're waiting for the football team's playing, or and you don't want to play, you can turn on power save mode. And what this will do is if you don't touch your device for a number of seconds, it will darken the screen so that most of the screen is taken up by black pixels. And these black pixels don't take any power at all to display. So you'll probably see that on your device now. I actually think that I might have, I have power saving off, so that's why I wasn't seeing it. If I go ahead and, power saving is still on. So if I don't touch my screen for a number of seconds, that will enable. Since I turned the setting off and on, I might need to reopen the band. There we go. So that's what it'll look like. Obviously, if you turn power saving off like I did, that won't display. Some people don't like it. But it means you don't even have to worry about like locking your phone in between songs. You can just wait for the band director to select the power save button, and then you're good to go. And then as soon as another song is selected, so if I select, Sky Boat song, it's still listening in the background even though the screen is turned off. So power saving mode turns off, the new song comes up, and everything's fine. That's one of the things we've done to save on battery. The other thing we have done is implemented something we're calling dark mode. This is something a lot of apps have, and even sometimes phones have it built in. But we have a special dark mode. So in the right menu, if you click on that gear icon, go to App Settings, and then turn on dark mode. What this does is it inverts the music, so the background is black, and the notes are white. And it actually sharpens the notes as well. It runs them through a filter to kind of increase the sharpness of the notes, so it's easier to read. This might not look very good right now, but there's actually a side effect to this feature. One of them is, first of all, it saves on power because most of the screen, as I said, is taken up by those black pixels. And second, if it's very glary outside, meaning high sunlight, lots of sunlight on your screen, this is actually easier to see in our experience. So it's something you can use when you're in a scenario like that. You know, and obviously if it is nighttime, you might turn dark mode off, and this is perfect. So those are the power saving features we've got built in that have helped out. And, you know, I can say, and, you know, normally I would invite the pit band directors to talk about this, but I'm sure now that Campbell's here as well, they can talk about this as well. It's gone for like 9 hours, a whole day without really using that much battery. The same as just having a screen on for any other application. So for the older phones, maybe they want to keep dark mode on all the time, or, you know, whatever. But we have support for this all the way back to iPhone 4s. So it's a pretty it's got pretty wide range of device support going on. So that's the application in a nutshell. There are a lot of other smaller features, but I'm not really going to get into those just because it's probably not worth your time in this big conference, and it's something you can look into if this is the direction you decide to go. One of the other things I do want to talk about real quick before I break into the Q&A is, I'm going to return to the presentation here, if I can. Looks like I might be able to. Technical difficulties. Way too many windows open, that's why. Okay. So there's my presentation. I had to restart it. But. So, you know, we've got a lot of features this year that were brand new. That's actually probably new for Campbell as well. Cloud Notes, that bulk music uploading thing I was talking about. Another thing that's coming very soon is a web app. One of the things we've been asked, because this is something that bands have had to adjust in conference settings, or sorry, in concert settings, is if we have a desktop app, right? Whether you can bring this up on your laptop or Chromebook, whatever it might be, and display it there. And we are working very hard on making that possible for next year. You know, right now I can't make any promises, but it should be ready, you know, if not the beginning of your next band season, very close to the beginning, where you can, you know, open up the app in a web browser, so that if you don't have a phone available, or you're in a concert setting and you want to use maybe a laptop or something on the stand, so that not everybody's handing out and touching music, you can still do that, and you can use this app for both marching band and concert setting. Yeah, and one thing I will mention, if you have one of the newer Chromebooks that supports Google Play Store, the app already works on those Chromebooks, but the older Chromebooks not so much. So another thing this year, budgets are lower, right? Bands are not getting as much money as they used to, and that's you know, especially bands that are under the athletic departments, sometimes they've been affected heavily. So we offer hardware this year, which actually allows you to attach your phone to any wired instrument. And we're offering a leasing plan for it that comes with replacements. So if that's something you want to go down, you know, save a lot of money. And, you know, as I said, if anything breaks up to a certain amount, you get them replaced for free. And it can be a recurring thing. If that's easier for your budget and it works out better, you know, reach out and we'll get something set up for your organization. We currently do not have the hardware visible on our website for a very good reason. We want to make sure this hardware gets in the hands of people that need them next year. So anybody who emails us or whatever, if you're a band, we'll basically get you the hardware. We just don't want anybody to go in and purchase hardware that could have gone to a band that needs it. So we're invoicing everything right now when it comes to hardware. So reach out to us if you're interested in this as well. And I will make sure to put my email into the chat here. Both my email and sort of the company support email. So you can reach out to support@flipfolderapp.com and get the quickest response. That's kind of a, you know, everybody affiliating with a company will get an email, and whoever is available will answer your email. And then my email is marcus@flipfolderapp.com. if you'd like to reach out to me directly. And I would encourage anybody who's attending this conference to just reach out to me directly, and I will we'll see what works for you. So yeah, I mean, I think at this point, I'd like to just open it up to any questions, whether you want to put those in the chat or say them out loud, and yeah, I can get those answered for you.
Yeah, so definitely encourage people to turn on their microphones and ask Marcus a question. And Marcus, I'll watch the chat if we get involved here.
Okay.
Anybody? Well, I'll give you a question as we wait for a question to come through. Copyright.
Yeah. So that was actually one that I was going to create as well if nobody answered it.
Yeah, exactly.
We get asked about copyright a lot, right? That's a big kind of, I guess, roadblock with going electronic. And one thing we do want to tell you is that for a lot of publishers, it actually isn't a roadblock. We encourage you to reach out to us because we've worked with a lot of publishers because we want to make this available for you. And we've made sure that we understand exactly what their rights are to upload music. For example, Hal Leonard. Trisona's one of the bad ones. They try to create problems, but they don't have any rights to. So we've read the legal. We've got an attorney that's looked through it. So, but Hal Leonard has said to us, you can, as long as you have the number of paper copies that you are supposed to have, so you've purchased that right number, you can display those however you like. So you can make those electronic, you can do whatever. Just make sure you're not displaying that music to a larger group of people than you purchased the music for. And that happens to be more or less, you know, the fine print of most of these publishing companies. We'll say something along those lines. But we actually have confirmation from Hal Leonard and a few others, actually, a few other smaller ones. So as I said, definitely reach out to that support email or me if you have any questions like, hey, does this publisher support it? And if we don't know, we'll get that answer for you because we really want to help out with that.
We have one from Kendall. Is there currently a way to do page changes with the group on large pieces of music?
Yeah, so one of the ways, there's two ways you can do multi-page pieces in the app. If you just upload one piece with you know, a whole bunch of pages, it will stack them vertically because it makes a lot of sense on a smartphone instead of flipping to actually scroll, as if you're like scrolling through an email. So that's what happens when you have multiple pages in one song. I've also seen a lot of bands, what they'll do is they'll take, you know, if they have like a 16-page piece of all of their cheers, right, split up into multiple pages, they'll actually split those into multiple songs so that they can bring up those songs individually. So if you had a multi-page piece that was set up similar to that, you can do it that way. The reason why you can't just say, hey, flip to the next page for most songs is because, well, you know, not all the page changes line up with measures. If that is the case, you can do that approach I was just talking about, which is to have multiple songs for each section you want to display and bring those up as needed. But most of the time what happens is if you have a multi-page piece, you'll either scroll through it or, as I said, split those up into multiple songs in the app anyway.
Gotcha. Do you have any recommendations? I know it happens a lot at the college level, and, you know, we go through the copyright process, but for formatting, using Finale and such, is there like a certain picking Octavio or something like that that works best when wanting to put it into the app?
Yeah, so, you know, there's two things that work pretty well, depending on what you want to do. One of them is just actually printing them out just like you would a marching band piece, a marching band format, because that just happens to work on a phone pretty well. If you have a piece that is definitely going to be multiple pages and might end up being kind of long, one thing we've been doing at Pitt is actually exporting that almost as if it's on like a legal sheet, so like one really long page. Okay. Because that means when you go into the app, you don't even have to worry about any page breaks. You just scroll through. So that's like the ultimate way of formatting it. But I do want to say that if you already have your music formatted like a marching band piece, you can do it that way as well.
And how about the lyres that you have? Maybe some band directors out there might be thinking about that. How can you just give us a quick idea? How does it Do you have like for all the bell front, are they all the same, and how do they fit on? How about flute players? How about percussionists? What do these kind of look like, and how are they being used?
Yeah, so while I'm talking about it, I'll go ahead and bring up the picture again. Um, these we call these the Uniclips, and these happen to work on every instrument that has a lyre, right? Which, as Mike just said, not every instrument does have a lyre. There are some that either they have a lyre that doesn't work very well, or they just don't even have a lyre in the first place. I think there are some flute lyres, but they're really bad.
Right. So what you're saying is that this clip actually fits on an existing lyre.
Yeah, so this bottom part here is the same as a paper flip folder. So that clips onto an existing lyre mount.
Okay.
But then for flutes, like you mentioned, we recommend something else. We recommend getting what is called, in some cases, a sprinter's band. It's something where you can attach your phone to your upper arm or wrist. And it's reason it's called a sprinter's band is because sprinters would use it to have their phone and listen to music attached to them without having to put it in their pocket.
Yeah.
So as it turns out, things are made for athletics, and we kind of just steal them for band in some cases. But that's what we recommend. And if you can get those through a university-sponsored sports group of some kind, that's probably the most economical strategy of getting those. We do also offer those. So if you wanted to get those through us, we offer those as well. So whichever works for you. We want to make this a good decision for you. So if it's more economical for you to get them through an existing sports group that you work with, that works out better. And there's another model as well that the reason I'm not displaying is because it's not ready yet. And the reason it's not ready is because our manufacturer was delayed due to this thing called COVID. So we have a trombone model that clips onto the bells of a trombone. We're calling that the T-bone clip. And we only have a few of those ready. They're all currently handmade because, as I said, the manufacturer has just been overwhelmed. So if you have a very small ensemble, we might be able to make something work. But those are definitely going to be ready by sometime in the middle of next season, just not at the beginning. So if that works out for your timeline, something like September, then we can get those to you as well. And if it doesn't, then either have to wait or maybe they'll have to use paper music for now for trombones. Although to be honest, I don't think there's even really a good paper music trombone lyre right now. But yeah, we're trying to also make that better, even with switching to electronic music. So.
Gotcha. We have a question here. What was the address of your website?
Yep. So that's it's just, and I'll put it in the chat if I can open that again. If you just type in flipfolder.app, you can get there, but it will redirect you to flipfolderapp.com. And it's pretty easy to remember. As I said, just it's that flip folder app, and you can open that up. And as I said, if you sign up for an account, you can start a free trial and see if it works for you, and then reach out if you'd like to use it for your band.
Gotcha. And that C clip, and again, I'm trying to ask questions for people who haven't used this before, but that C clip, it adjusts for the different size phones.
Yeah, so I have one here. This is actually just a tripod phone holder. So basically what we've done is we've taken a lyre, so the bottom of a flip folder, paper flip folder, and we've made it kind of a tripod mount. So you can hit band attached to GoPro to this. You can do that. And you can, if you had a bigger device, like an iPad that you wanted to put on this, you could potentially get a bigger tripod holder for an iPad and put that on there. But it comes with a tripod holder that fits all smartphones.
Gotcha.
And it's spring loaded, so there's no screws or anything.
Oh, great. Can you give us recommendations of best practices? It's been really effective when you use it this way, or even with the lyre, or the flip of that, avoid doing this because, this is where people say, oh, it doesn't do this. Well, yeah, it does if you did it this way. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think so. I would say that if you are a band that's looking to get these, and this is obviously going against, like, my business partner would be yelling at me, but I don't care. I want you to have a good experience. If you're gonna get these and you're saying, okay, I don't want to get the hardware, I'm just gonna put phones on music stands. I would not recommend doing that. The phones are way too small. You're not going to be able to read the music. It's not going to be a fun time. If you have tablets, perfect. If you have a bigger device, everybody has like a laptop that's able to fold up on a music stand, whatever, it works out perfectly. But if that's something you're planning on doing with smartphones, I just would not recommend doing that. That's not the best way of using this. And the music will be too small, and switching to electronic music will be seen as a negative thing for your band. And you don't want that. So that's something I wouldn't recommend. You know, one way of very effectively using this app is with COVID going on. If you needed to use this for a, you know, like a lesson system or a concert system where basically you wanted to work over Zoom with a student musically on something, one thing you can do is use the shared notes feature to kind of circle things and point things out on your music, and that will sync to their device. So it's almost as if you're like pointing and circling the music, you know, with them. That might be a way to do kind of some remote learning, some remote music education, either in sectionals or with individual people. So that's one kind of positive way of using this app next year. There's some high schools in very hard hit areas that are using our app to do just that. So I did want to mention it, even though, you know, it may or may not be something that you use.
Does the app have any limitations of how many can be on a band?
Yeah, so when you, and one of the reasons why we have this limitation is for that copyright concern. When you purchase licenses, you set a number. You say, I need 250, and that can expand instantaneously. You can go into the band manager and add more, but it doesn't dynamically grow by default because we want to make sure that you know that you have the rights to display the music to that many people.
Gotcha.
So it's not a limitation per se. It's more like a constraint based on the legal ramifications of trying to display the music on more devices than you're allowed to. So, you know, you want to make sure you keep that number in check. And what I'll go ahead and do now is I will share the band manager so you can see how you can manage the devices on your band. You know, you can see who's connected, their initial connection date and last connection date, whether they can share notations, and you can remove people that you don't think should be there, right? So you can remove people like, okay, they're no longer in the band, they shouldn't be looking at this music.
Or they graduated.
Or they graduated, exactly. You can also disconnect all the devices between seasons if you want to completely reset the whole ensemble. And if, you know, what I've seen a lot of bands do is they'll get into a room, well, maybe not this year, maybe they'll get into a Zoom this year, and they will give everybody the Connect ID and they will connect. And then after that, they will lock the band. And what this does is it means that nobody else can connect to the band. Anybody who's currently connected will stay connected, but nobody new can connect to the band until you unlock it. And that's another way of controlling who has access. So we didn't want to make it very complicated, like you upload a CSV file with all of your students and it sends them an email and they have to, you know, it's just really complicated to do that. But we do have things you can do to make it more, you know, secure for your environment. First of all, just making sure that Connect ID, which you can change at any time, make sure that's secure, and locking the band. So basically you're just saying, okay, nobody can connect who isn't already connected.
So in essence, could I, make sure there's no questions. In essence, if I was a high school band director or a middle school band director, let's say high school, and I had my marching band music picked, my jazz band music picked, my concert band music picked, I could digitize all that, put that in the app library, and then have all that music digitized and available on their device. And they wouldn't have to carry a folder around regardless of what ensemble it's for.
Yeah, and one thing that I've seen a lot of bands do is we don't want you to buy multiple licenses for all of those things, especially if they're not performing at the same time, right? Just purchase the number you need for the maximum number of devices and then use them for all of those ensembles. And you can set up those different organizations as playlists. So we have playlists where you can kind of sort out your music into categories. So if I go ahead and create a test playlist here, because I'm just very creative today, you can add some songs here. Like I want to add Like the Birds and Skyboat song, and I can drag these around to organize them because they'll actually come up in that order in the app. And it won't automatically sync to this right menu, but if you go to the settings, choose another band, and you reopen the ensemble, what I'll see on the left here is that playlist I just created. And I think that my screen, do you see the phone right now?
Yep. No,
Okay, cool.
you see a big screen, not a phone.
Okay, so that's I forgot that it wasn't sharing. So what I just did is to get it to sync, I went to the settings, choose another band, and I just reopened it. The playlists don't, we don't want to use too much data when you're in a performance. So not everything syncs all of the time. It does sometimes take some time. So what you can do to kind of make that faster is just if you know something changed, you can exit and reopen,
Okay.
and it will automatically sync. But we'll see here the test playlist, and in that list you can see the 2 songs that I put, and you can open those up. Since I'm a band leader, I have to leave the performance to bring that up. But I can cycle through these songs, and when I go back to playlists, I can go back to all songs. You can swap between them. I've seen people use these playlists for a lot of different things. It turns out there's a lot of features in this app that can be used in multiple ways depending on how you want to use them. This playlist can be used to like set up performances. So let's say you have like a performance coming up and you just want to lay out all the songs you're going to play. You can do that. Or categories. So you have like cheers, you have halftime, you have pregame, or bands. You can have different ensembles that are kind of in the same group. Whatever you want to do, there's multiple ways to use it, and that's something that's available. So
Man, I'm gonna, miss the opportunity of finding percussion parts on the floor in the back of the band room. You're kind of taking that experience away from so many of us.
yeah,
So,
that's another thing. Percussion is another question we get a lot because there isn't really too many lyre mounts for percussion available. What a lot of bands have done is they have gotten cheap pads, tablets of any kind. They can be, $30 Android tablets that are just basically just a screen, and it'll work. And you can put that on a music stand or on the floor like you would have binder. It's basically the same size as a band binder at that point. So that's something you can do. We are actually working on hardware for percussion. It's going to take some time, and it's not, unfortunately, it's just not been our most top priority with everything going on so far, and the features and hardware we wanted to get out for COVID stuff.
gotcha.
So
The last question I have for you, and you kind of touched on it, so it might be a little bit of a repeat. When they talk about a trumpet part, it's, trumpet 1, trumpet 2, trumpet 3, saxophone 1 and 2, clarinet 1, 2, and 3, flute, pick, and all that. But when it comes to the percussion area, we got a gamut. We got from timpani, snare drum, bell, tambourine, and all that type of stuff. So it's not like I'm bringing up all the trombone 3 parts. So how does that get managed as I'm a percussionist, and in jazz band, I have the drum set part. In drum line, I have bass 3, and I have 1 bell part for 1 tune. I got the triangle part and the clave part. How do I make sure that's what syncs into my device as a student?
yeah, so I've actually seen a couple solutions to that. One is, you can change. So if I go to the, oops, I didn't mean to close out of the app, but if I go to the settings, song settings, I can change my part for this song at any point. So I can bring, trombone 4. My notations are gone because I made those notations on the trombone 3 part, and I'll get those back if I change back to the trombone 3 part. But that's something you can do to kind of hot swap between music. So you know what part you want to make, and that will be remembered. So whatever song part you chose last, that will stay there until you change it again. So if you play lots of different parts on lots of different ensembles, you can figure out what those are, let the app know, and it will make sure that you have what you need to have. For the percussion scenario specifically, I've seen a lot of bands basically just put all of the percussion into one part, and then they have the music stack left to right, and they'll just have the band members scroll over to whatever part they want to view, save the music in that position, and that's another way of doing this. Especially if they kind of go between parts really quickly, like they kind of need to go between multiple different types of parts.
Right.
It might even be one of those things where, if you have tablets and you have music stands, for one of those settings, you put a tablet on a music stand in front of the xylophone, and that always has the xylophone part, and people kind of just walk around between the different tablets. There's many different ways of going about this, and I can't say there's just one solution because there isn't. It's really just dependent on your scenario and how you want to use things, and also the technology that you have available. So what we recommend doing is, and please do not hesitate to do this at all, let us know, like, what do you have? What are the utilities that you have, and how are you able to use them? And we can tell you or give you some different options for how you might be able to utilize this for your bands.
Excellent. Well, hey, Marcus, thank you so much. I'm going to kind of talk just our way for going forward in the day, giving people a chance to even bring up another question in the chat real quick, or even if you want to just put XXX and know that you want to talk your question through, please do. So again, thank you, Marcus, so much. This app is a game changer. I know Campbell has thoroughly embraced it, and our library is ready to roll. And even our students are excited about working on it. In our last student meeting with our leadership, it was probably one of the most praised things that they enjoyed working with, and they were talking to our new folks coming in and what to do. So upcoming here in our workshops from 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock, we have Josh Gall from the University of Texas and Ultimate Drill Book. Josh is the co-creator and owner of Ultimate Drill Book. The difference between the two sessions, I would definitely try and grab onto or attend both of them. At 3 o'clock, he's going to talk about what the app is, why it helps, how it helps, and